feet of the Statue of Liberty, there is a poem by Emma Lazarus titled The New Colossus. The last few lines of the poem are as follows. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. This is the foundation upon which America was built, and although this foundation has been challenged time and time again, America has remained a place of hope for the homeless and tempest-tossed. Today, it also welcomes temporary residents who are looking for an education. Many of these temporary residents are international students who are often overlooked and ignored, as were the immigrants that Lady Liberty first welcomed in the past century. Last October, I got to visit the Statue of Liberty with a group of our international students from Slippery Rock, and although I did not get to see the engraving with my own eyes, the words of this poem echoed in my mind. At Slippery Rock, we are working to welcome the international students, to lift our own lamps beside the golden door, and assure them that America has a place for them as well. In the fall of last year, I joined a program that was designed to welcome international students to America, called the Global Ambassador Program. The goal of the program was to match established domestic students with incoming international students to form mentorships and friendships. This aided the international students in their transition to the American education system. The program created a structured, non-threatening environment for these students to form friendships and strengthen the multicultural community on campus. Through this program, I became aware of the English as a Second Language, ESL, tutoring program, so I participated in that as well. The ESL classroom provided tutoring for international students who needed some additional help with their English skills. It also provided a shared space that promoted friendship and aided in the integration of the international students into the established campus community. Both of these programs illuminated the language barrier between the international and American students, but the positivity of the environment transformed that language barrier from an obstacle into an opportunity to share language. Both programs also organized their own events and promoted campus-wide ones for students to participate in together. Many were food-oriented, such as Korean dinners organized by one of the ESL instructors, as well as an international dinner organized by the Office for Global Engagement. Sharing food proved to be a wonderful way to connect. In fact, food can be a universal language in and of itself. Sharing a slice of one's culture is a quick and easy way to connect. A few of the events were travel-oriented, including a trip to Pittsburgh and one to New York City. Pittsburgh is my hometown, but I had never been to New York, so sharing both of these trips with my international friends was a unique experience. First, I shared my own city with my friends from around the world, and then we explored an entirely new one together. By sharing these fun activities like meals and trips, both the American and the international students were able to overcome obstacles such as language barriers and cultural differences to form an inclusive community of friendship. When I first began working as a global ambassador, I was not sure what to expect. In fact, I didn't know anything about my mentees until about an hour before I met them. I was matched with two young ladies, one from Hungary and one from South Korea. Haewon, the student from South Korea, and I quickly became close friends. When I recently asked her what the most important part of the Global Ambassador program was for her, she said it was that it connected her to an American student she could call a friend. Additionally, she said it was important to her to have another student on campus that she could ask for help if she needed it. At her Korean university, she worked with a similar program that welcomed other students to South Korea, and she noticed that at both universities, it was easy to overlook the international students. In turn, having a welcome program helps these students greatly. These programs allow us to better include our international students so that they are not isolated, but rather integrated and welcomed. One of the easiest ways to welcome someone is to share a meal with them, as you can see in the photo up there. One of the first things that my mentees and I did together was share a meal. And this was only the first of many meals that we would share. As I mentioned before, there are Korean dinners once a month where all students are welcome to enjoy a free meal and socialize over delicious dumplings, kimchi, and seaweed salad. Haewon and I would often sit with students from Japan and talk about the similarities and differences between the food we were eating and the food they had at home. The meals were an excellent conversation starter, and they gave us something to talk about with students we might not get to know otherwise. Additionally, there's an international dinner hosted by Slippery Rock every year. All of the international students and any American students who would like to participate prepare traditional dishes from around the world for a formal dinner in the Student Center. Haewon and I prepared dak galbi, or spicy chicken stir fry, which is pictured on the left. We used ingredients I had never even seen before. Purple sweet potatoes, Korean rice cakes, perilla leaves, and gochujang, which is red pepper paste, to name a few. Although it was very spicy, the dish was delicious. It gave me a taste of the kind of food that my friend was missing from her home country. Many of the ingredients that we used for the international dinner were purchased in Pittsburgh Strip District, which we visited on a trip organized by the Office for Global Engagement. In the Strip District, we visited several shops and restaurants, including Sambok Grocery, Mancini's Bread, and Woolies Fish Market. Sambok Grocery sells a variety of typical Asian foods, including nangshi banana snacks, which Haewon bought for the two of us. I, on the other hand, bought us a loaf of Mancini's Italian bread. At Bully's Fish, we sampled sweet sausage, after which Haywan said to me, "It's good, but it wasn't sweet." Once I realized the misnomer, I explained that sweet sausage isn't sweet, rather it's not spicy. When we had finished our trip in the Strip District, I suggested that we walk over to Point State Park to see the fountain. I was worried that the long walk would render the fountain unimpressive to Haywan, but she ended up enjoying its view as much as I did. As we made our way along the bank of the Allegheny, she tried to teach me the Korean word for water. I could not manage to say it correctly, but my botched attempts made us both chuckle and gave me a greater appreciation for Haywan's ability to speak English. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention the greater language barriers that the international and American students encountered. Most of the international students at Slippery Rock have studied English to a degree in their home countries, but some speak it and understand it better than others. In our ESL sessions, each American student assisted one or more international students in reading, speaking, writing, and listening to American English. At first, the sessions were a bit awkward. Just like starting a conversation with any new person, it was hard to know what to talk about with the international students. Additionally, the tutors had to gauge their students' understanding of English so as not to overwhelm them. However, as the weeks went by, the transformations that took place were phenomenal. Not only did the international students' English skills improve, but so did the tutors' understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of their students. For example, I typically work with Japanese students, and I learned that they often drop the articles a, an, and the because Japanese does not have articles. One of my favorite questions that my student Keiichiro asked me was, "Why do you use the in the phrase the 1920s?" I was not prepared for that question, but it was an excellent opportunity for some on-the-spot critical thinking. It made me pause to consider all that we native English speakers know but don't know that we know. Additionally, the L and R sounds are interchangeable in Japanese, so it can be difficult for Japanese speakers to pronounce certain words in English. This created some confusion when Keiichiro and I started talking about horror movies with 3 R's, but with some time and practice, he was able to enunciate all of the R's a bit better. Learning about the Japanese language and thinking about my own language allowed me to better understand what the students were trying to say and help them communicate more effectively and clearly. As we learned more about each other, the relationship strengthened between the tutors and their students as well. I often heard one of the older American students speak as both a mentor and a tutor to his students. He would advise them not only on how to speak or write, but also on how they should conduct themselves as young men. I also watched as one of the particularly shy young women who did not seem to want to participate eventually warm up to her tutor and, because of that, open up to the rest of the students. In fact, one of the most personal experiences I have had with the international students resulted from this program. Next semester, I will be living with one of the Japanese students that I met through my first semester of ESL tutoring. Many of the ESL students, as well as Haywan, were present on the New York trip that I previously mentioned. Most of us had never been to New York City before, so exploring it together for the first time was a unique and unforgettable experience. We rode a chartered bus through the night from Slippery Rock and arrived early the next morning as the sun was making its way over the city's skyline. As the sun rose and the citizens of New York made their way into the streets, we found ourselves in a place that seemed a world apart from Slippery Rock. The experience was unique in 2 regards. First, we were in a place that was foreign not only to the international students, but also to the American students as well. Second, New York is brimming with residents and visitors that were as diverse, if not more so, than our own group of students. Aside from a reservation to take a ferry to the Statue of Liberty, we had free reign over where we could go. Haywan and I each had a number of places we wanted to visit: Broadway, Times Square, and Central Park, to name a few. Although Haywan had never seen or listened to the musical Hamilton, she shared in my excitement over finding the Richard Rodgers Theater on Broadway and stopping in the gift shop. In Times Square, we stopped in the Hershey store as well as the Disney store, where we discovered our shared loves of all things chocolate and Disney. However, one of my favorite memories that Haywan and I shared was visiting Central Park. It was bigger than either of us had imagined, and we spent the end of the day ambling through the park grounds, walking past street performers, vendors, and other visitors. After passing many couples in the park, Haywan said that someday we had to come back with our husbands and children. Thinking about that moment still makes me smile. The fact that we, 2 young women who had grown up an ocean apart, speaking 2 different languages, united only by a tiny university in western Pennsylvania, are now walking through Central Park, talking about the future. It made the idea of returning to New York City in a decade seem almost possible. When we visited the Statue of Liberty that day, the weather was warm and bright, Lady Liberty's aquamarine cut clearly against the cloudless sky. Viewing the statue reminded me of what all of these experiences were about: the multicultural mosaic of America, made up of diverse individuals sharing their lives, coming together as a cohesive whole. As we spoke, ate, and traveled together, we built a small community mirroring that of the rest of the country, composed of members from around the world. Just as immigrants brought and continue to bring innovation and ingenuity to America, so these students contribute to our campus with theirs. They are dedicated beyond measure, and I am constantly in awe of them. Discovering the common ground we have with these students is immensely important, not only so that they are integrated instead of isolated, but also so that we are able to recognize all that we can learn from them while they are here to learn at our universities. Because international students are brave enough to travel to America, to enter the golden door into this country, we, the American students, are able to lift our lamps beside it and welcome them in. If we fail to welcome them, not only do we deny them of their full potential, but we deny ourselves of it as well. Yet, if we succeed in befriending and supporting these students, the mutual benefits are outstanding. Programs like ESL tutoring and the Global Ambassador Program are a great tool to accomplish this, but welcoming them can also be as simple as reaching out to these students individually. One meal or activity can grow to a lifelong friendship. With these friendships, we build our multicultural mosaic. We expand our minds, palates, and awareness of the world around us. And finally, we lay a strong foundation for tomorrow, much like the one at Lady Liberty's feet, on our common ground today.